All right, let's go ahead and kick things off. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining. Thank you for hopefully being a ServiceNow customer. Today's webinar, we're really going to be trying to show you guys some of the new features that were just released earlier this month for Now Assist for ITSM. So we'll go through a few slides. I'll try to make it quick. And then we'll show you a demo of some of the new features in action. And then we're also going to dive a little bit deeper into the new virtual agent Now Assist powered, sorry, the new Now Assist powered virtual agent features as well. So we're going to show you how to configure virtual agent and also how those new features as part of the November release actually work. So let's get started. So safe harbor notice real quick. If we talk about any forward-looking statements in this presentation, please be aware that these are our plans and not necessarily a promise for the delivery of said features. Our roadmap is constantly in flux as we hear feedback, and we're always changing things in the hopes of making the product as useful as possible. One other call out I want to make is on December 9th, we are going to have a ITSM customer adoption day in New York City. We're going to be going through how to set up service operations as well as the Now Assist features. So if you're interested in this, please scan the QR code. It will take you directly to a registration page where you can sign up. And I believe this event is free. There'll be food and drinks there as well. So if this is something you're interested, please make sure you grab this QR code. All right, general housekeeping. If at any point during this presentation you would like to ask a question, please use the Q&A feature in Zoom, and we're always monitoring that, and so we'll get back to you as soon as we can once we see your question. This presentation will also be recorded and shared on the ServiceNow community site. And so if you miss a few sections here, don't worry too much about it. You can always come back and revisit. After this Zoom meeting is over, you will also be prompted to fill out a short survey. Really appreciate if you could spend a minute or two filling that out. It's very helpful for us to understand what we could do better, what type of content you guys ideally want, and that way we can serve you even better materials going forward. Okay, so let's dive into things. Why did we create Now Assist for ITSM? So as we talk to a lot of customers, we have been hearing the same thing over and over again. Nowadays, organizations are being pressed more and more to increase the productivity of their employees while also maintaining an exceptional user experience. And this is what we aim to deliver with Now Assist for ITSM. Some of the major pain points that we see in a lot of our customers is that there's limited self-service. From the end user's perspective, a lot of times they struggle to find the right content to answer their questions. And as a result, it leads to opening a ticket or an incident. And once that happens, we see a lot of agents struggling to get up to speed and serve the user more quickly, more efficiently, and get them on their way. Lastly, from the agent's perspective, a lot of times they're not necessarily incentivized to document everything they've done to resolve a certain ticket or incident. A lot of times they're just trying to churn through as many tickets as possible, and so documentation is not so high on the priority list. So what we aim to do with Now Assist for ITSM is solve all three of these pain points. Basically, we're going to try and create a virtuous loop with Now Assist for ITSM. So first, we try to streamline the incident process. So that might include providing summaries to help agents get up to speed quicker, serving them the right content as well. And then it also leads to better documentation, which in turn leads to point number 2, creating self-service content. And we can also leverage GenAI to help us do that. And that really closes the loop for us, and it helps provide users with the right self-service content to help them figure out their own problems quickly and efficiently. So these are the outcomes. I went over them already, but just to rehash, employees, we're trying to drive more self-service. We're trying to help agents get tasks done more efficiently. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that for leaders, we're also trying to get them to spend more time on more impactful priorities and also lower the total cost of ownership. And we aim to do that by making Now Assist very, very easy and painless to turn on. And we'll show you a little bit of that later today. So before we get to the demos, a few slides on the new November releases. So all of these were released as part of Xanadu patch 3. So the first one I want to talk about is change summarization V2. So V1 was released earlier this summer, and in V2 we made a few enhancements. Basically, we're pulling in more data to enrich the change summarization the change summarization. And the goal is to make it a lot easier to understand what is going on in a change and expedite the entire change process. Another thing that we just introduced is called the Change Risk Explainer. And so if you're a change manager, now you can click Explain Risk, and we will serve you up the different inputs that were used to calculate the risk rating for a change record. So a really neat feature here. Incident summarization V3. So incident summarization was first released as part of our very first Gen AI product. So way back in 2023, late 2023, early 2024. And we've heard a lot of feedback around the summarization and its ability to handle a large level or large quantities of service level agreement data, as well as affected CIs and impacted services data. So what we've done here is introduce a pre and post processing feature that will enable the summarization feature to provide a better summary of all the different SLAs and affected CIs as well. We also just introduced incident assist skills. So this very much lives in the Now Assist panel. So that's this purple one over here on the right of the screenshot. And in version 1, you will now be able to ask specific questions about incident records. So you can ask who's on call, show me recent tasks for this caller, what are the assigned devices for this caller, and you can also ask Gen AI to give you a list of similar incidents. The next feature we released is the multilingual KB generation. So if you're part of a multinational organization where multiple languages are being leveraged, this is a really nice feature for you because now you can generate a KB article directly in a language that you desire. So some of the languages that are supported today include French, German, Japanese, Spanish, and Italian as well. If you have languages that don't fall under those categories, then you can always leverage dynamic translation too to get support for additional languages. So last slide for the day, we also introduced a few different enhancements for the Now Assist powered virtual agent. So we improved conversational fluidity. That's really small talk, the ability for the virtual agent to switch topics and recognize greetings. We also improved the format of the responses that the virtual agent gives to you. So we've heard a lot of feedback around the responses being a little bit hard to follow, hard to read. So we've included a new type of formatting, which includes step-by-step instructions as well as more concise answers. Multi-turn conversational memory. This is the ability for the virtual agent to reference earlier parts of the conversation, and the virtual agent will actually take into consideration everything that was said in the conversation and provide a better response to the user. Synthesized responses, the VA will now look through knowledge, catalog, and different VA topics and decide which one the user will be best served by. and it will serve up that answer to the user. Proactive VA conversations, we now have actionable notifications within the conversational interface. And so users can get notified of a change in their ticket or something along those lines. So with that, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and bring up my demo instance. Okay, so I'm going to walk through some of those features before I hand it off to Jason to dive a little bit deeper into the virtual agent features. So we are looking at a change record right now. And so I want to call out the new change summarization feature. So right at the top, you can see a purple banner and a little sparkle. Anytime you see that, that means we can use Gen AI to make our life a little bit easier. So with this change record, we now have a quick summary of everything that's happened. So as an agent or as a change manager, it's really easy to get up to speed. One of the neat things about this newest enhancement is that you can actually change these headers. So depending on what your organization wants to include as pertinent information, you will have the ability to customize these headers for you. So as a change manager, let's say that I want to investigate why this is rated a low risk. So again, we see that we have this little purple button and that little sparkle. So let's try and use Gen AI to figure out what's going on. So as you can see, the Gen AI model has provided a very nice summary of the 4 different inputs that were used to calculate this risk rating as being low. So another handy feature for us to leverage to understand what's going on with a change record. So switching gears a little bit, I'm going to move to an incident record and show you the new incident features. So like I mentioned before, again, this purple banner, we can hit summarize. And in the past, our virtual agent was not the best at summarizing large quantities of data when it comes to service level agreements and affected CIs. So now we're doing a much better job by introducing a pre and post processing feature. Similar to the change record summarization, you can select these headers and edit them as you see fit. So depending on what your organization's needs are, you can definitely customize that. So let me also show the new incident skill. Maybe I'll refresh this really quickly so we can start from scratch. Okay. Let's see, show me this caller's assets. So like I mentioned before, we have 4 new prompts that you can use to dig a little bit deeper into different incident records. So the one I just used was show me this caller's assets. So it's going to show me, who is this caller? Let's see. Carol Coughlin's. So these are the 5 assets that are currently assigned to Carol. I can also ask the analysis panel, show me similar incidents. Maybe that didn't work so well. Let's try resetting this conversation. So when you start a new conversation, it will also show you all the different prompts you can use. So let's try this, answer questions about an incident. And let's see similar resolved incidents. All right, so unfortunately, it looks like this is the first of its kind. So we're not able to see whether there was a precedent for this, but that's okay. We can show off some of the other stuff. Let's ask who's on call. Cool. So this instance is a little bare bones, so no one's on call right now, but as hopefully you get a taste for what these features can do and help you to streamline the incident process itself. So with that, I'm going to dive into the last skill I'm going to show, which is the multilingual KB. So let me go back to full screen. Oops. And I'm going to go to a resolved incident. So this incident is in the closed state. Perfect. We're going to click create knowledge. And we can select a knowledge base and an article template that we want to use and click create article. Another purple banner, a little sparkle button. So let's click yes, draft with now assist. And we can also select whether to group a similar set of incidents and address them all in one go with one single knowledge article. And this is the new feature that was released as part of Xanadu patch 3. So we can select which language to use. So in this instance, I have English and Spanish loaded. So I can click Spanish, click continue. And as you can see, we get a nice draft of a knowledge article all in Spanish. So really handy for those of you who are working in a multinational organization and need to create different knowledge articles in different languages. So I'll pause here. Do we have any questions that we want to take live, Jeff, before we hand it off to Jason?
There were a couple questions that came through, but they've been addressed. So I think we're good.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand it over to Jason to do a little bit of a deeper dive into the virtual agent.
All right, thanks, Brian. Let me go ahead and screen. Okay, as Brian mentioned, we have a lot of capabilities that we added as part of Now Assist Virtual Agent. Looks like I see a raised hand. Do we want to take that first, Brian, really quick? Looks like
Sure.
before
Yeah,
we move
Michael, if
on.
you want to come off mute and ask that question live, we're happy to do that. Oh, I think his hand went back down.
Okay,
Why don't we
all
go
right.
ahead, Jason?
All right, sounds good. So let me first just walk through the admin portions of it. I'm logged in as the system admin, and what you're seeing here is the Now Assist admin capabilities homepage. How you navigate to this, some of this, if you've attended previous sessions, you may have seen some of these configurations, but for folks that are new to it, let's just walk through it once again. So to get to the Now Assist admin section, you can just type in Now Assist in the left nav, and you'll see that there's a Now Assist admin section. Go into the overview section, will take you to this page, and you can see any number of information on plugins that are installed, what's the statistics on it. So for this purpose, let's walk through specifically the virtual agent experiences in terms of how to activate that. So I'm going to navigate to the Now Assist features section, and you'll see a few different sections. Some of the capabilities that Brian just walked through are in the ITSM section, and they're enabled in this panel. We're going to navigate to the platform section, as virtual agent is a broad platform skill. And you'll see this conversational experience section here. I've already activated some of the capabilities, but just to illustrate how this would look, if I click in and view details, you will see that there is a few capabilities that have been turned on already. You see that there's the Q&A Genius results, which is providing the responses from different articles and presenting it in a manner to answer the person's question or the employee's question. And then we also have multi-turn catalog ordering skills that can be turned on. This makes catalog items conversational. And then lastly, we have the topics that are active on this instance. So this is, if you're familiar with the NLU-based topics, this is a similar construct, but they're LLM powered today. We do have a newer skill that we're introducing in the November timeframe. That is the subflows and actions. We won't cover that necessarily in detail today, but we are going to be starting to ship more and more out of the box integration hub spokes, as well as integration spoke actions, as well as subflows, and they will be able to be rendered conversationally, assuming that they have all the supported variable types. So pretty excited about that capability. That's something that we'll be introducing shortly. Now, to get to the setup with all these being active, you'll just go ahead and navigate to the setup for Now Assist in Virtual Agent. So this will take us to a separate configuration section. And what you're going to see here is a list of assistants that are configured on this instance. So you can have assistants that are tied to different portals. You could have a specific one that's on your Employee Center portal, for example, or you could have one that's different for your HR portal. Currently, we've just got one default one configured on this instance. And right now it's already turned on, but what I'll do is show you what that configuration looks like. So if we go in and click into this configuration for this instance, you'll see there's a few steps that you go through to activate it. It is pretty quick to activate this capability on the instances. Just give it a second. It looks like it needs to refresh. Just double check. Actually, let's just go through the section since it looks like there's a little bit of delay in the activation. So if you go through the overview, we have this Now Assistant Virtual Agent. We have the specific skills that can be leveraged. So you saw that first panel. Those are opening up the skills across any of the assistants. And then at the assistant level, you can choose if you want to use all the different skills as part of that virtual agent. So you could just have Q&A available, for example, on, let's say, a knowledge portal and not have the other ones activated. You could just have catalog ordering only activated for an IT portal, for example. But for this purpose, let's go ahead and activate all of them, with the exception of the subflow, which is we kept inactive previously. And then this is the display experience. So here, there are a few different configurations. Some of this may look familiar if you've worked on the NLU-based virtual agent in the past, but we have portals that can be added. You see a drop-down list of all the portals that are available to be added for the virtual agent. I've gone ahead and already added the portal names here for Employee Center as well as the service portal. There's also a toggle here too, if you want to allow access for this assistant publicly. So if you want this exposed to non-authenticated guests or users on the system, you can allow that as well. Moving over to the next tab, we have different channels that this can be available as well. So if you've got the integration set up for things like Slack, Teams, you can also have those as options that can be toggled on. So the same virtual agent can coexist on multiple portals as well as multiple channels. And then we also have a mobile tab. So if you have a mobile app that you've built that has integrations into it, or you're leveraging the ServiceNow mobile app, these can also be added to be shown as well there. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it on the Employee Center and the service portal. I'll go ahead and save and continue. And one of the things you'll see here is choosing the specific information sources. So you can select what specific knowledge articles are considered as part of the response generation. So in this case, I've just got it by the default active and allowing anything that's actually valid and published by today. And as long as they're not in draft form, they're being serviced or they're being served up. Similar with the catalog ordering, I am just focused on most of the ones that are in user facing that can be ordered. And then also if I'm leveraging any external sources, in this case like Confluence, these can be shown here as well. All right, moving on. Next section is the branding. So here you can adjust some of the features on how the virtual agent looks. So in this case, I have a few different themes I can choose. I can also kind of quickly, okay, that one's pretty similar to the thing, but I can kind of go through the different branding options that are available on the system. If you've created your own custom branding types, those can also be applied. So moving along on the branding side, lastly, there is the chat experience. So this can help set up what the greeting message is in terms of what you want the virtual agents to start the conversation off with. And then also you can customize any of the closing messages. There's also a fallback option. This will let you determine what happens on the fallback. So if you're if you have got live agent configured on ServiceNow, this can be an option there. And then if you don't have live agent configured, you can have this just basically reset the conversation, or you could have this trigger like a specific record producer, maybe like a create incident or something as a fallback option. The other thing too is there are some configurations you can make in terms of the system topic. So by default, we've got some of these configured, like what happens on an error message, what happens with the fallback. These can all be configured. So for this purpose, we'll just focus on what is by default configured. And then let me go over to the this section here on the promoted topics. We don't have any promoted topics set up here, but if you have promoted topics set up, it's similar to the previous virtual agent where it will show you call to action buttons that will show you like maybe common topics that users are using on the system, and you can present those up front in the initial chat. All right, I will go ahead and save and continue. And then here I can just look at a recap of everything that's configured. I can test this out really quick as well, just to see the experience. But I'm just going to look through here, see what the details are, see the skills that are activated, and then where I have it displayed. And then what are the information sources that I have. So I'm going to go back because this is actually already activated. And so that's primarily how you activate the admin experience. I'll pause there for a second, see if there's any questions that we need to cover before I move on to the next section. Okay.
No questions at the moment.
All right, sounds good. One other thing Brian talked about was proactive notifications. So let me just briefly show that configuration for folks that may not be familiar with it. If we go over to the conversational interfaces homepage, this is where you configure, once you've activated the Now System Virtual Agent, this gives you a broader set of capabilities in terms of configuration. You're managing the virtual agent. So what I want to look at is, you can see there's all these different call to action tiles. Some of them are specific to the things that we just showed that we were configured. There are obviously some older NOU based things that are in this. Now, the more specific thing that we want to look at is for proactive notifications. So this capability existed already, but what we've done in the November timeframe is ported over some of our common NOU based proactive notifications. So if you look at the, let's see here, if I go to the virtual agent tab, I'll see notifications here. And so if you see this provider notification configuration, this is how we're triggering the actionable notifications. So what this will do is, based on certain trigger conditions, it will send a VA notification to the user and they can take action on it. So if I go to this view all section, this will take you to a list of notification system provider ones that are available. So let's take, for example, this incident commented one. So anytime an incident that as an employee I have that has been commented by a user, I can get an alert if this notification is set to active. And you'll see here that in this notification, I've got it turned on already, but these by default are turned off. You can come here and activate it. And you can customize this to suit your organization's needs. But by default, we basically have an incident. It's taking the caller's ID and username. And if that value changes, it will go into and send a notification. You can also specify who will receive this notification. And as part of the content section, there will be an initial message that says, hey, you've got an incident that's been commented on. And you'll be able to see the message and what that looks like. So in this case, it's a pretty simple message. It tells you that a specific incident number has been commented on and there's a new comment on this incident. This is the initial base notification. And if you go to the actual actions that get shown, you've got a few different ones. So we've ported over, so this supports both NOU as well as LLM. We ported over the same actions for LLM. So if you have this enabled on a specific portal, these will be activated. So that's sort of where you go and configure it. You can also create your own notifications with the same structure here for proactive. It's not limited to what we ship out of the box. All right, let me shift gears a bit and go over what this looks like from an end user perspective. If those of you had joined on our previous Tuesday call, you probably see some similar demos as what we did there. But for those that weren't, we'll go over this experience real quick. So I'm going to impersonate a Storm employee. And Storm employee is a new sales rep at our company. And he wants to know a little bit more about some of the capabilities in the new virtual agent experience. So let me go ahead and start a new chat. All right, so it says, hi Storm, how can I help you? I know Brian covered some of the capabilities. Let's say, I'll just type something like, hi. And so you'll see some of the capabilities where it basically will understand this isn't really an intent to search or do something. And you can see that the bot responds gracefully. So let me go ahead and go through just understanding a little bit more. So I'm Storm employee. I need to understand the latest November releases and need to see where the benefits are so I can talk to my customers about this. And I'd like them grouped separately so I can see them more clearly and in a digestible manner. So I'll see here it responds, here's the benefits. We want to get increased self-service, better requester experiences, improving the service quality. What are the capabilities and features that are being added as part of this November release? We've added conversational fluidity, improved response formatting. As you can see here, the formatting can be tailored to suit the needs based on the employee's input. And then we've got some multi-turn capabilities and synthesized search results. I talked about proactive VA notifications a little earlier. So those are some of the capabilities we walked through. Now, I kind of want to understand what exactly is, conversational fluidity and maybe multi-turn. So if I look here, I can just type in and say, tell me more about uh, conversational fluidity. And this will this will look at the same information and talk about like what are some of the additional details here. So conversational fluidity allows virtual agent to respond in kind to the requester. So things like hello, some basic small talk, any closures like thanks, I'm done, and then or this is annoying, I'm frustrated. Those are things that we've incorporated as part of this first version of conversational fluidity. We're going to continue to augment and be able to handle a lot of these out of band small intent or small talk intents and non-intent actions as part of this experience. So let's take a look and maybe ask another question though, like what are the multi-turn enhancements? So here, Brian talked a little bit about this, but you're seeing this more live in action. But multi-turn basically allows you to take a look at previous utterances during the conversation and help shape the responses. You can tell here, I've been asking questions about this particular features and capabilities, and it's allowing me to ask follow-up questions related to it. All right, let me shift gears. So Storm's kind of gotten the information that he needs to help answer questions that he has for customers. So let's start a little bit of a different scenario and start a different conversation. Storm's got this answered. So later on, he realizes he's kind of having some issues getting into the CRM system that we have internally. And so he'll go in and say, how do I get into Sales Crafter? And being that he couldn't access Sales Crafter, he asked the virtual agent, what he can do. So in this case, he sees that, okay, to access it, I need to ensure I'm on the VPN. If you're unsure, you can reference another call to action. So in this case, I see that I can do something else related to connecting to the VPN. And so in this case, I realize I'm not really too sure because I'm new. How do I actually connect to the VPN? So I'm going to go ahead and trigger this flow. And so in this case, I see that to get started, I need to download a VPN connection file here. So I'm going to, behind the scenes, click on this and look at that and go ahead and go through the instructions of installing it. And I've completed the installation now. So I'm going to say something like, installed, what's next? And I see here the virtual agent is triggering a two-factor authentication. So it's sending me something to my authenticator app. And I will enter the 6-digit code into the VPN application offline here on my PC. And I am logging into the computer company username and password. So I will go ahead and say, all right, so in this case, I've gotten my resolution for this to be able to get into Sales Crafter, and kind of looking through my opportunities. And now I kind of want to see, I need to be able to see if the virtual agent can help me look for some information. So I'm actually going to ask them, I'm looking for this contact that I found in my system. I'm looking for Avery Sinclair, who works at Prefectus, because I need some information about her. And you'll see it's pulled back Avery's contact information. And now I've got that information. I'm going to go ahead and trigger. So I've got her contact information. I'm drafting up something, and I want Analysis to give me some information or help me draft up an email on something to send to Avery. So I'm going to go ahead and type in something here. I want to talk to Avery about some of the benefits that I saw the Now Assist virtual agent give me about the November release, so that I can have a conversation with Avery. And so in this case, I can take a look at this and say, okay, it's generated an email. It's given me quite a lot of information here. And it sees some relevant topics. I can maybe do something as so now I see that it's significantly condensed the email and teased out the salient points. So that's just a brief demo and walkthrough of a few different scenarios that you can see for the new Now Assist virtual agent. I'll pass it back to Brian to cover any of the additional other things. Thanks.
Cool, thanks, Jason. All right, let me pull up the presentation again.
Brian, while you're doing that, there's a quick question here, Jason. Is Virtual Agent, does it work with German and German KBs?
Yeah, German is supported. There's a few different ways that it's handled. In the case of German, I believe that's in our November primary
KBs.
core tier one languages by default out of the box. Those are supported. But if it was like a language that wasn't in the initial scope, we also have dynamic translation capabilities that support this on the fly.
Thank you. I provided a link to an article that had some information around German as well for the requester. Thanks, Brian.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys. So in addition to the demo that we just did, as I mentioned before, this recording will be shared. This deck will also be shared, and we will include links to helpful resources that are shown up on the screen. So if you ever have any questions about how to do certain things, how to implement certain features, feel free to visit these resources. A lot of them are available through product docs and also the ServiceNow community. If you do have any questions for us today, please feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A function. And if you want to actually, oh, I see Michael has raised his hand. Just as I was going to say, if you want to come off mute, you can certainly do that as well. Okay, I see Michael has unraised his hand. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or raise your hand or put them in the Q&A, and we will answer them live right now for you guys.